Good morning, New Brunswick, and welcome to a very special edition of the New Brunswick Today show. I'm Charlie Cradaville. It's November 5th, and we have another in our series of interviews with candidates who want to represent you in this upcoming election. Please welcome Ms. Gina Genovese. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it.
Of course, pleasure to have you. So, you are running to be the governor of New Jersey.
Yes.
And tell us, why do you want to do that? What possessed you to put your name on the ballot and run this year?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, it's really been my journey because about 12 years ago I became a local elected official and then served as a mayor of a small town, Long Hill Township in Morris County. And you start to learn when you're on the other side of budgets and services, and you start to see what you're delivering and what local control is, how much the state is controlling what you're doing. And then you start to see that potentially our high taxes are about how many little different local governments we have delivering about 80-85% of the same services. And you start to see our fractured school districts. So after my tenure as a local elected official and serving as mayor in 2006, I ran for state senate. I lost that race. But I still had this burning desire to help New Jersey, and I had all this information and knowledge about consolidation and school regionalization over the past 100 years in New Jersey that I then felt compelled to found and serve as executive director of my nonprofit, nonpartisan organization called Courage to Connect New Jersey. And it's been extraordinarily successful, Charles. I've worked with the Princetons, I've worked with elected officials, I've worked with school board members in South Hunterdon, I've worked with fire commissioners, and I know that there's a lot of local elected leaders and also taxpayers. We've formed 3 taxpayer groups that now have a consolidation commission, and it's been a wonderful experience. But I did realize one thing, that if we do not have a leader in the State House, if we do not have a strong governor that wants to make sure that these programs are implemented and that New Jersey moves forward, we are never going to tackle any of these issues.
So let's talk about Courage to Connect. It's your nonprofit you started. How many towns are there in New Jersey? What are we at, 565?
565. When I started, it was 566.
Okay, so you got the Princetons to consolidate. There used to be 2 different towns,
yes,
same name, called Princeton, and now they're all one.
On the 4th try.
On the 4th try, you got that. And how many school districts are there in New Jersey?
There's over 600. Now it's hard to even know because every time there's a charter school, it's a different school district.
Okay.
But I worked with South Hunterdon, which is Lambertville, Stockton, and West Amwell, plus a regional high school. They dissolved 4 school districts to create 1 new one. So there was a lot of success. It's just that you need the financial incentives, you need a leader to be able to speak about it. We have a lot of things in motion right now in New Jersey, and basically they're going to fall apart because we're not going to have a governor that is going to understand this issue. And Charles, the one main thing too about me, I'm running as an independent, is that I have worked 50% with Republicans and Democrats. And for anything to move forward in New Jersey, you need to make sure that it's a unifying issue. And basically reducing property taxes while increasing services is a unifying issue. And so that's why the success has been extraordinary.
So so just so folks understand who don't maybe get the full breadth of the problem, you believe that having all these little towns, all these little school boards is inefficient, and that it costs taxpayers way more than it would if maybe there's some common sense was used in terms of combining these entities?
Well, Charles, statistics are here and there, but there's a statistic that really hit me. The entire country pays $300 billion in property taxes, and we're closing in on $30 billion. So how is it that New Jersey is paying 10% of what the entire country pays? Now, I know it's not apples to apples, that there's different ways of services, but still, it's like we're spending an extraordinary amount of money on delivering services through a very fractured form of administrative structures, basically is what it is. And yes, property taxes right now is polling as the #1 issue. We did a survey where 54% of the respondents said that it takes 2 to 3 months of just salary to pay their property taxes. Of just salary. What are we doing to our residents? And how isn't every local official, every county official, and every state official not willing to be strong enough to address this issue?
Well, let's talk about some of the obstacles you face when you're doing this. So, like, you've been at this for a while now. What are some of the reasons that folks give you when they say, we don't want to combine our school district with a nearby school district, we don't want to combine our town with a neighboring municipality? What are the reasons, and how do you overcome those?
Well, first of all, it's a twofold approach. How do you get this to happen in steps? You know, we had the first step that's been successful. Can the next one be more successful? We had the reduction of the school districts where we have a K through 12 unified district. And so they're turning out the lights on me. Did you just see that? Anyway, see, no one wants to talk about this issue. So what you have to do is you have to do the second step and the third step and the fourth step. And by the time you get to the fifth step, Charles, I think people will start to understand that this is the direction we need to go. Having said that, you know, the mayors, there's a lot of mayors for life. They don't want to give up their power. There's a lot of contracts to be made. There's a lot of municipal chairs that get, if you want to know the truth, this is the truth, that have all these appointments, like the attorney and the engineer. And so everyone is very happy with the status quo, feeding off of all the contracts and everything. And they're happy. And so they don't want this to disappear. And so a lot of the obstacles are power and money. And then they go into the towns and they tell them, oh, you know, you're going to lose control, and your town's not going to be the same, and the police are not going to help you, and all these really fear-mongering things that, you know, hopefully after a few steps will not work anymore. But it's all about power and control.
Well, how'd you make it happen in Princeton then? You were involved
I didn't
in that?
make it happen in Princeton. There was a leader in Princeton. There was the former Princeton Township Mayor, Chad Gerner. That was done actually by the elected officials. So there's many ways you can do it, and both governing bodies got together and said, let's look at this one more time. Let's do it right. Let's have a lot more public outreach. And they were successful again on the fourth try. But our organization helped with the learning. We have a lot of the former chairs, the Chad Gerner, the former mayors on our board. And so that's the whole thing, too, is that Courage to Connect New Jersey can become this resource from all of our experience to give to the next towns that want to look into this. And so that's why it's also successful. So we're building a wonderful foundation. But again, I don't know how much longer Courage to Connect New Jersey can go on without a leader in the State House. And I don't see Kim or Phil being a leader that would be able to even understand this process. So that's really why I'm running, because I see it in New Jersey. I'm working now, our organization is working with residents from Roxbury and Mount Arlington. They've been working 3 years, all these people. And they needed $7,500 to complete the study, and the state wouldn't give them a dime. And so our organization had to come in and fund their study. I mean, this is ridiculous. Here's citizens that have done more than anybody else in New Jersey, and they're not being supported. Taxpayers. So, you know, when Christie says, oh, nobody wants to give up their home rule, or he does lip service to this, he really has governed over 8 years where we could have made huge strides in this issue, and he just has no idea about it.
Yeah.
Clueless.
So,
really.
So when you ran before, did you run with a party, or have you always been independent?
I ran, I'm in a 3-1 Republican town,
okay.
And I ran as a Democrat, and I actually became the first Democratic mayor in the history of New Jersey. I was also the first out mayor in the history of New Jersey. So I'm used to pushing boundaries, and I'm used to making things work better. I was the Democratic mayor, and I also had a Republican deputy mayor. Okay. And, you know, we worked very well together. Because it's important that you don't get into this partisan bickering, as we see now, because that is not going to help anyone move forward. And basically the losers are the residents, the taxpayers, and the voters. So it's very important to have somebody like myself that has worked across the aisles and has accomplishments. And what you need to do is just stay away from all the issues that you just do not agree on, that are really volatile, and you just stick with the issue that you both agree on, and you just work together as hard as you can. And that's my experience, and that's what I want to bring to Trenton.
And so this time you're running with no party.
No party.
Right? You just got the signatures yourself, you turned them in, and you're on the ballot. What are some of your other priorities? What you know, since you don't have a party, you're kind of It's up to you. What do you?
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
When you run on a party, it's good because you have all the infrastructure. But what's bad is they tell you what to say and do, which is what I learned when I ran to state senate. That they start controlling you a lot more.
Right.
I really at this
Parties
point
are
do not want to be controlled.
Okay, so tell us what are your priorities?
But some of the priorities are, there's one that really is very difficult to talk about because it's really could bring New Jersey to its knees, and that's the pension issue.
Yes.
It's hard to grasp the gravity of it, but it is a very difficult issue, and everyone in New Jersey is going to be hurt when you address this issue. But we also not just need to fund the pensions, we need to rein in a lot of the abuses around it, a lot of the ways in which we come up with the formula to pay people. Like an example is, we use the last 3 years of your earnings, which makes everyone go and get to a higher level the last 3 years, pad their salary so that they're going to get a much higher pension. And that you can't blame them. But we have to stop these loopholes. We have to stop this and say, no, it's the lifetime salary. Just that one little tweak would help. But
Sure.
there needs to be several of them, and not only funding it, but compromise. Everyone's going to be hurt, and we need to work on that now, Charles. The problem with New Jersey is we're so into inaction, and a great example is like the transportation issue.
Sure.
We waited till the drop-dead date where it was going to belly up. We did this harebrained legislation that brought in the estate tax and lowering the sales tax by 3 cents. And then at the net gain after 10 years is not a net gain; it's a net loss. So, we need to proactively go at this issue now.
Okay, so the pension, big part of the budget, huge
and
problem.
You got the environment.
Okay.
We've had Mr. Christie has defunded all the legislation that is to be a good steward of our environment and look into technologies like solar and wind power. But even more important than that, we're at the precipice now where we need to have the infrastructure for electric cars. We have to start looking to the future. So I see the environment as we have all the legislation, really. We just need to make sure that we're funding it, that we're being good stewards of our environment. The water issue is huge that is coming up, not only our drinking water, but I believe our oceans have to be tended to, and Barnegat Bay. There's a lot of issues around that we really need. We also have a governor who stacked the commissions because, we have a very powerful governor that gets 5,200 appointments. And so he has stacked the Highland Commission and the Highlands Commission, and then you start to see all the corporations coming in with all their pipelines and everything just coming and it's those are the things that need to be stopped as well. So environment is huge because we've had this 8-year turn, and then obviously you have infrastructure that needs to be tended to. But those are the top issues, and obviously the marijuana issue, which is on everyone's wish list. But I believe that the legalization of marijuana should be on the ballot. I do not think it should be a legislative issue. I think it should be in 2018. It's for the people to decide.
So you support a public vote of everybody in New Jersey for whether or not
yes,
marijuana should be
I think it's time for us to see it.
And how would you vote in that hypothetical?
Well, I have never smoked dope in my entire life, but I have a lot of friends that do, and they have never had a problem or an issue finding it. So I would probably vote yes. I think we should tax and regulate it. But still, I don't think it should be my decision. I don't think it should be a legislative decision. I think it should be a voter's decision.
Okay. So you mentioned transportation, big issue here in Middlesex County. We're right here near the New Brunswick train station at this great coffee shop. Tell me, what are you going to do to fix the problem that people really notice the decline in the quality?
Well, the decline is because of the lack of funding. The decline is that NJ Transit is only funded by, or mostly funded by, the ticket sales, and most of the other states have a supplement from the state. And so we need to start funding that. We need to make sure that our safety issues are up. As you know, we've been a little lax on that. Mm-hmm. And that needs to be addressed. Somebody very knowledgeable needs to be the head of that, needs to make sure that we are putting in the funds, putting it in the right way, and making sure that the safety is paramount. It's a huge issue. And we know where the lines are, where the people go, right? So.
Yeah. So you told me you're in Union County now?
I'm in Morris County.
Oh, Morris County. Okay. So I don't know how familiar you are with Middlesex, Central Jersey. What types of things would people here could we expect to see if you were the governor? What types of changes or improvements here in the New Brunswick, Middlesex County area?
Well, this is more of an urban area where we are now in New Brunswick, so is dealing with different issues.
Sure.
But I really feel like we need to reduce property taxes, and I know how to do it. So my goal, and I believe it's achievable, is that to reduce property taxes by at least 15% in 4 years. And that's an issue that really just isn't just about paying property taxes. What that would mean is we'd have over $4 billion for people to put back into the economy. Just by 15% reducing that.
Well, how can you pull that off? Because costs are always rising. 15% is a big deduction.
Not really. Not really, because there's so much waste and duplicative services that, no, I think it's very easy to do. We're like right now there's an initiative up in Sussex County with a couple of elected officials that want to, they have like 27 school districts, and they're actually asking to go down to one school district.
It's one for the whole county.
Yeah, but they have a very, very small county,
yes.
And they've been losing student population about 35% in the last 6-8 years. And so that's an initiative that if you have a strong governor that goes in there, puts the incentives in, and works with them to make sure it happens, is a huge step for New Jersey to save a significant amount of money. We now have an initiative, I'm not involved with it, but Hamilton, New Jersey has 9 fire districts.
Wow.
They want to go down to 1, and that's the fire chiefs, fire commissioners, okay? And it's not getting on the ballot because of political reasons, which is insanity. And they're going to save at least $2.7 million the first year, and I have worked on fire commissions, and what happens in that realm when you consolidate is the savings go out larger and larger into the future. So you're looking at they could potentially save $5, $6, $7 million in the next 5-6 years. So these are the steps that you start taking, and then people and taxpayers will start believing and start demanding it, because we have to have the taxpayers rise up and demand this and say, look, we're choking here, okay? And I'll tell you something right now, if I do not win, in 4 years, people are going to be spending another week of salary to pay just the property taxes, because there's no end in sight. And it doesn't look like Phil Murphy is going to extend the 2% cap on police and fire. So you're going to look at another whole week of working just to pay your property taxes. And we have the example in Princeton, where the police department has said the combined police department with 9 fewer officers delivers a much better service. Okay, we have South Hunterdon that says it's a much better school district. So, these are the things that we need to have go, support around the state. And again, once you start doing it, it just becomes easier and easier. And hopefully we can be more innovative, save more money down the road. Because the Princetons did it well, but could they do it better? Absolutely. And another thing that's critical about this is, what the Princetons and South Hunterdon did is they unincorporated their towns, they unincorporated their school districts, and reincorporated. Okay. So if you look at Princeton, it's established in 2013, which means they renegotiate all their contracts. Now, their employees that are there have their contracts, so it's not affecting anybody that's there currently. But what you have the ability to do is set a new course for that town, set a new course for your school district. And so it really is the only way that we can really bring innovation into local government, local services, and make the changes that we need to make. Otherwise, it's not happening.
I got to ask about the President of the United States. He's not a, a lot of people think he should be impeached and removed from office. Are you one of those people?
He's a polarizing figure, and he's so volatile and mercurial. We have no idea what he's going to do. Just take the property tax deduction, which is a huge item for New Jersey.
Really hurt New Jersey.
I mean, it went from 0, now it's 10,000. Who knows if it's going to happen? I don't know how effective or ineffective the president is going to be. It's a situation that has to play out. It's a situation that has to play out, and frankly, I don't think that anybody knows what's going to happen. But I'll tell you, if I become governor and he's going to do something to hurt New Jersey, I'm going to be there tooth and nail, to fight for our state and our rights. And that's what I would do.
Okay, you don't think he needs to be impeached yet?
I think that we're in a democracy and we have to let it play out, right? I mean, you know, the FBI and Mueller are looking into things, and I'm not judging. I believe that Mueller is the right man at the right time to do this job, and I think it's very premature to say anything.
And now, talk a little more about Christie, who was kind of predecessor to Trump. He set the state back quite a bit. How are you going to undo kind of the things that he did, or how are you going to do the things that he should have done?
Charles, I don't know. The man is the worst governor we've ever had. He's put us in a perilous situation. There's no question about it. He has done nothing. And except for his friends. He has supported the corporations and his friends very well. I'm sure that
his buddies are doing
that's
great.
The 15% that like him still. He has raided every account. He has stopped progress in so many areas. And I don't know. I don't know, frankly, if we can recover from that. And that's one of the things that I find a little difficult with Phil Murphy is when he says he's going to fund all this stuff. And I know a little bit about the budget. I know a lot about the budget, and it's a little scary when you get in there, that how many monies you have, where you can reappropriate them. You know, it's going to be a tough haul for the next governor. And a lot of people are going to have to be hurt because Governor Christie was not a good steward of our state at all.
Okay. Well, that's about all the time we have. If there's any parting message you want to say to folks who are going to be voting on November 7th, please speak directly to them.
Well, Charles, it's interesting that here we are, and there's about 50 or 60% of the people that don't like either candidate, and that's basically why I'm running. I'm running because I felt like New Jersey needed a choice. They needed somebody that had the experience on the ground, that's an implementer, that can do things rather than just talk about things, because it's so easy to talk about things and not have the ability to do it. And so I had that. I saw the landscape of perhaps some weak candidates, and I felt like I had to put myself in the race, and I just wish that I had a little bit more media coverage and people knew a little bit more about me. I tried as hard as I could. And that's how you take money out of politics, though, you know? The people have to start coming together and communicating better so that it's not all about money and commercials.
Right on. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Charles. This is wonderful.
Gina Genovese. She is a former mayor who is running to be your next governor of New Jersey. So no matter who you vote for, get out there and vote on Tuesday, November 7th. And keep watching this Facebook page, New Brunswick Today. We'll have more interviews throughout the day.